Athens 2,400 years ago, a man was condemned to die for asking too many questions. This was a chubby man, with a strange nose, a man who did not fit the mold. This man could be none other than Socrates. Socrates, who was born in Athens in 469 BC, was an ancient Greek philosopher. Known for his humble habits and for having no other occupation than philosophy, Socrates had a growing influence on Greek youth, especially on his student Plato, to the point of imitating him. In his youth, he was a soldier who fought against the Spartans in the Peloponnesian War. In his middle age, he used to wander around the marketplace, stopping people from time to time and asking them questions. Socrates believed that an unexamined life was not worth living. He insisted that we should reflect on what we believe, explain what we know and do not know, and seek and live in accordance with the views that will lead to a well-lived and meaningful life. For Socrates, living a philosophical life meant living with the idea that reason, conceived as the capacity for discussion and analysis in the pursuit of truth, should guide everything we do. To live philosophically is to live consistently on the basis of reason conceived in this way. Socrates saw it as his religious duty to call his fellow citizens to the examined life by engaging them in philosophical conversation. His method typically consisted of probing questions that revealed his interlocutor's ignorance of the subject under discussion. He argued that human wisdom begins with the acknowledgement of one's own ignorance. Socrates was indifferent to material pleasures and personal comfort. He ate, drank, and had sex in moderation, although he did not abstain completely. Politically, he criticized both the democrats and the oligarchs in Athens. Socrates died in 399 BC after a trial on charges of blasphemy and corrupting the youth. He spent his last day in prison among friends and followers who offered him an escape route, but he refused. His influence on philosophy after his death was enormous. Almost all schools trace their roots back to him. Socrates' method of questioning, known as the Socratic method, has had a profound influence on Western philosophy. This method, which involves a series of questions designed to clarify and develop one's thinking, was developed by Socrates to encourage critical thinking, challenge assumptions, and encourage individuals to question their own beliefs and values. The Socratic method has had a lasting impact on Western philosophy, particularly in the fields of ethics and epistemology. Historical significance. The Socratic method was developed by Socrates, the founder of Western philosophy and one of the first moral philosophers in the tradition of ethical thought. It has been used by many philosophers throughout history, including Plato and Aristotle, and remains an important method of research and teaching. Impact on philosophy. The Socratic method has had a significant impact on Western philosophy, especially in ethics and epistemology. It has been used in various philosophical debates to challenge assumptions and encourage critical thinking. The method has also been applied in other fields such as law and education to promote active learning and critical thinking skills. Contemporary relevance. The Socratic method remains relevant today as it continues to be used in a variety of fields to promote critical thinking, challenge assumptions, and encourage individuals to question their own beliefs and values. The method's emphasis on self-examination and critical inquiry makes it a valuable tool for personal and intellectual growth, as well as for fostering meaningful discussion and debate. In sum, Socrates' method of inquiry has had a profound and lasting impact on Western philosophy, shaping the development of various philosophical schools and traditions, and remains relevant today as a powerful tool for critical thinking and personal development. The School of Megara is a school of philosophy founded by the Socratic philosopher Euclides. The School of Megara was a philosophical school founded in ancient Greece in the 4th century BC. Megara is a city in the Attica region of present-day Greece. The teachings of the School of Megara emerged as a reaction to sophist thought. While the sophists argued that truth was relative, the School of Megara claimed that truth was absolute. Although the thought of the School of Megara is close to that of the School of Elea, it also shows certain differences. The most famous members of the School of Megara are Philotheos, Euclides, and Eubulides. Euclides is known for his critical approach to many theories of sophism and criticized some philosophical concepts accepted by other schools and created a new philosophical system. The most important teaching of the school of Megara centered on logic. The school specialized especially in deduction and syllogism, inference. In addition, the teachings of the school of Megara were an important influence on the teachings of Aristotle. The Death of Socrates is an oil-on-canvas painting by French painter Jacques-Louis David, created in 1787. It is part of the neoclassical style popular in the 1780s, depicting subjects from the classical era. The painting shows the execution of Socrates, as described in Plato's Phaedo dialogue. In this story, Socrates was accused of seducing the youth of Athens and bringing strange gods, and was sentenced to death by drinking hemlock poison. Instead of fleeing when the opportunity arises, Socrates uses his death as a final lesson to his students and calmly faces the event. The painting is currently stored at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York and has been the subject of much scholarly analysis and debate. Socrates was found guilty of corruption and blasphemy, and the prosecutor proposed punishments for his crimes against the Athenian city-state. Expressing surprise at the few votes required for acquittal, Socrates joked that he should be punished with a free meal at the Prytaneum, the city's sacred hearth, an honor usually bestowed on an Athenian benefactor and Olympic-winning athlete. Following this failed proposal, Socrates offered to pay a fine of 100 drachmas, a fifth of his estate, testifying to his integrity and poverty as a philosopher. In the end, a fine of 3,000 drachmas was accepted, proposed by Plato, Crito, Critobulus, and Apollodorus, who guaranteed payment. Yet the prosecutor of Socrates' trial recommended the death penalty for the heathen philosopher, Diogenes Laertius, 242. In the end, the death penalty was accepted by a larger majority of the jury than the convicted. In the event, his friends, followers, and students encouraged Socrates to flee Athens, an act that citizens expected. Nevertheless, on principle, Socrates refused to break the law and leave his legal responsibility to Athens, Crito. Therefore, true to the doctrine of civil obedience to the law, the 70-year-old Socrates accepted the death penalty and drank hemlock as he had been condemned at trial. Before his death, he told people that the unexamined life is not worth living.